When the world awoke on October 21st, 2025, something felt wrong in the quiet hills of Gloucestershire. At dawn, the lights of Gatcombe Park, Princess Anne's private estate, burned when they should have been dark. No royal cars arrived. No staff passed through the gates. The air was heavy, motionless, like a held breath before heartbreak. Then, at 7:45 a.m., Buckingham Palace broke the silence with a single, devastating sentence. A tragic development has occurred involving Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal. Across Britain, the words fell like frost. For half a century, Princess Anne had been the immovable pillar of the monarchy, the soldier, the rider, the worker who never faltered. But this time, the silence spoke louder than duty. This was not about protocol, it was about pain. Outside Gatcombe Park, morning fog clung to the trees. Reporters gathered, their whispers trembling in the cold. Locals said even the estate's horses seemed restless, pacing near the fences. No one had seen the princess since the previous afternoon. Inside those curtained windows, something unspeakable had happened. Palace officials called it a period of private reflection. Royal correspondents knew better. That phrase, so restrained, so deliberate, is only used when the truth is too painful to share. Princess Anne, 75 years old, had faced every storm with composure. Her parents' passing, public scrutiny, relentless duty. She had never asked for rest. So what, the nation wondered, could finally break the woman who never broke? To understand this moment, you must look at the life behind the crown. Anne was born to service. While others chased glamour, she built a legacy on endurance. More than 400 engagements every year, rain or shine. To Britain, she was reliability made flesh, the crown's quiet heart. Yet even the strongest lives have hidden corners. For over 40 years, Anne had relied on a small circle of trusted companions, friends who saw the woman, not the title. Among them was one man, her private equestrian advisor, a lifelong colleague and confidant. He wasn't famous, but within her world, he was irreplaceable, the man who could tell a princess no. That week, he died suddenly while visiting Gatcombe Park. Anne was with him when it happened. Witnesses said she was inconsolable. For the first time in living memory, the Iron Princess retreated behind closed doors. By sunrise, the palace staff knew something was deeply wrong. A scheduled meeting at the Royal Agricultural Society was quietly cancelled. No reason, no statement, only silence. By mid-morning, news crews lined the country lanes. The BBC switched to continuous coverage. Social media trended with one haunting question. Sex, where is Anne? Catherine, the Princess of Wales, tried to reach her twice, but no one answered. King Charles, himself under medical care, was informed of his sister's sudden withdrawal and said to be deeply concerned. For a family already strained by illness and duty, this was a blow none expected. As hours passed, public curiosity turned into empathy. Clips of Anne's unwavering composure during her mother's funeral replayed across American networks. If even she has fallen silent, one anchor said, something must be truly wrong. Flowers appeared at palace gates, handwritten notes tucked beneath rain-damp ribbons. Even the strongest hearts need rest. Inside Gatcombe Park, time stood still. Anne sat in her private study surrounded by photographs. Her children, Zara and Peter, her parents, and that lifelong friend now gone. She wrote letters in longhand, refusing dictation. She mourns through precision, not tears, a staff member later confided. That evening, Buckingham Palace released a 20-word statement. Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal will take a period of personal reflection following a private loss. The sentence was quiet, but monumental. It confirmed what the nation already felt, that grief had entered even the most stoic heart of the monarchy. Hours later, headlights pierced the mist. A single black Range Rover rolled through the gates. Inside were Prince William and Catherine, arriving without cameras or fanfare. They stayed nearly an hour. Witnesses said when they left, Anne stood at the doorway, holding a white envelope to her chest, King Charles's handwritten letter of comfort. Even in sorrow, her posture remained regal, but her eyes carried the weight of generations. That night, Palisades received a memo signed in her unmistakable hand. Her Royal Highness wishes to thank all for their kindness. Engagements will resume when appropriate. A single line, firm and graceful, the language of resilience. By the next morning, newspapers from New York to Sydney shared the same headline. Princess Anne steps back after private tragedy. Yet it wasn't the details that captivated the world, it was the silence. In a culture addicted to confession, Anne's restraint felt radical. BBC aired gentle retrospectives of her dry humor and steel composure. American talk shows replayed her iconic response to the 1974 kidnapping attempt. Not bloody likely. But now, viewers saw the humanity behind that iron resolve. Charities released tributes. Riders left flowers at stable gates. Comment sections filled with messages of solidarity. One viewer wrote, "Maybe it's good to to know even the strongest can feel pain. In the following days, a private memorial was held at St. Mary Magdalene Church, Sandringham. Only a dozen people attended. No cameras, no spectacle. Anne placed a single white rose on the altar, then whispered something no one could hear. Witnesses said she looked peaceful, but changed. Back at Gatcombe, locals saw her walking alone through morning fog. A small figure in a barber jacket, head slightly bowed. The tabloids captioned the photo with one word: resilience. Weeks passed. The palace confirmed she would resume duties on November 10th, the week of remembrance. That timing was no accident. Remembrance Week honors sacrifice, endurance, and quiet service, the very qualities she embodies. When Anne finally reappeared in London, photographers captured a cinematic image. Her Royal Highness stepping from her car at the Royal Opera House, coat buttoned high, head bowed, eyes forward. Behind her, the wind lifted her black scarf, and for a moment, it looked as though grief itself had let go. The crowd didn't cheer, they simply watched in reverent silence. Princess Anne's story is not one of tragedy, but of endurance. She has reminded the world that strength doesn't always roar, sometimes it whispers, that dignity is not outdated, and that even royalty cannot escape grief. It only learns to face it with grace. Perhaps that is why her silence speaks louder than any speech could. In a world obsessed with attention, the Princess Royal chose peace. And through that quiet courage, she taught us all something timeless. You don't have to perform your pain for it to be real. As autumn settled over Gatcombe Park, the lights once again dimmed at dusk. The world moved on, but for those who watched closely, something had changed. Not just within the palace, but within ourselves. Because behind every crown lies a human heart, and sometimes the bravest thing that heart can do is simply keep beating.